back to Holistically Healthy TV. I am your host, Jim Burdumy, and today is episode 12, part 1 of nutrition. If you remember back in episode 1, I mentioned the 6 key aspects of health, and one of them was nutrition Q2. So today we are going to be talking about 1Q in the Q2, which is quality. And then part 2, I hope you'll tune back in for quantity. So quality is what we're going to be talking about today. There's 3 aspects of quality that I wanted to talk to you about, and let's get right into it. So the first thing that we want to look at when we're talking about nutrition is quality, because what's the whole point of eating food? It's to get nutrition from the food, right? Our body needs nutrition. And one of the biggest things when we're talking about nutrition is looking, are we eating low quality food or are we eating high quality food? Because that's going to be the difference in getting low quality results or high quality results. Okay, so one of the ways that we can measure the quality of our food is looking how it was grown. So was it grown organically? Was it grown on a conventional farm? And what's the difference between the two? So an organic farm, the soil has to be tested for a number of years. Typically it's 2, sometimes 3 years where the soil is tested, because there needs to be a certain amount of microorganisms in the soil for there to be for it to be considered a healthy soil. Because microorganisms, the more diverse population you have of microorganisms, the healthier the soil is. One of the things that they also look at is worms. It's not actually tested, but they're going to look at the worm count in the soil, because if you've done any kind of research on farming, or have ever talked to a farmer, or even watched Cat in the Hat with one of your kids, they tell you that the worms are actually the most important person or thing on the farm, because they do so much. They aerate the soil, they break down rock inside the soil, etc., etc. But the worms are so important, and one of the reasons that there's not a lot of worms on commercial or conventional type farms is because of the types of fertilizer that they use. And the fertilizer has a lot of salt in it. And anytime that you would sprinkle salt on a worm, you could just always do this little experiment, even though it's not going to turn out great for the worm. The worm's going to shrivel up and be dead. So the worm, being the workhorse on the farm, is very, very important to the soil. And so a good, healthy soil on an organic farm is going to give you the best quality fruits, vegetables, whatever's growing in that soil, because you can kind of think of the soil, Mother Earth, as a mother, right, who's pregnant with a child, and the child is the seed that you're planting in the soil. And so the baby or the seed can only be as healthy as the mother or the soil that it's grown in. Hopefully that's a good analogy for you to understand that the nutrition is really coming from the soil, and then we're taking that product and eating it and bringing it into our body. And so the quality, if it's very, very low, then we can't really expect very good results from low quality food. The other thing we want to look at is it genetically modified? So GMO stands for genetically modified organism. And you want to be looking and reading your labels, and this is why it's so important to look at labels, to be seeing if it's GMO verified, part of the GMO verified project of being non-GMO. A lot of non-GMO things, people are saying, oh, well, genetically modified things have been around forever, GMO's been around forever. You know, taking a apricot and a plum seed and putting them together and getting a pluot or a plum cot, whatever you want to call it, depending on what part of the country you're in, that's not genetically modifying. You're just kind of combining 2 seeds. That's not to the degree of genetic modification that we're talking about today, where they're actually making things in laboratories and it's not even real. So we have to be careful with the sources that we're learning from, and that the ideas that we're paying attention to or actually adopting as our own ideas and telling somebody else, because it could be the wrong idea or a misinterpretation of the concept. So when you're talking about something today's day and age that's genetically modified, chances are it was probably made from man or in a laboratory, something like that, and it's not any kind of quality that you want to be putting into your food. And just to let you know, a lot of corn and soy products are genetically modified. So if you're buying corn and soy products that are not saying that they're GMO free, most likely they probably are genetically modified, just to let you know that. And the other thing is that when you're talking about GMO, we also have to look at the animals that we're eating, such as chickens or cows or something like that, that you're buying, or that you're buying when you go to buying at the supermarket, or buying when you go to a restaurant. Because if you're eating something that was fed genetically modified food, again, their diet is very, very low quality. And now you're eating a chicken that was on a very low quality diet, among many other things. And again, you can't expect very good results from eating low quality chicken that was fed a low quality diet. And I hope that makes sense for you. Next, to keep this simple, and there's a lot of things that we can go into with quality, but for the sake of the video and your attention, I just want to give you 3 basic concepts and then end with an idea. So the third one is whole food. So a good rule of thumb is, if it wasn't here 10,000 years ago, as my mentor Paul Chek says, you probably shouldn't eat it. You probably shouldn't put it in your mouth. It's not saying that you have to be a fanatic by any means about nutrition. It's very, very easy, unfortunately, to be unhealthy in today's society. You just have to go on any strip in any major city and just look at the selection of restaurants and food choices that you have. And unfortunately, you don't have a lot of good quality food to choose from. You have to kind of do a little extra homework and seek it out. But if it's important to you, then you'll do it. And I encourage you to do that, because if you want good results, take that extra 30 seconds, 2 minutes, whatever it is, to figure out, okay, well, where's the good food? Let me go there. And even if it's an extra 4-minute drive down the road or 5-minute drive, does that mean that you're going to be willing to do that to get better results in yourself? And I hope the answer is yes, but that's completely up to you. And I'm not here to push this on you. I'm just here to educate you, increase your level of awareness, and hopefully motivate you to make the right choices for yourself, depending on what kind of goals you have set for yourself. So whole food, meaning more fruits, vegetables, things that you don't really have to do much to, that are minimally processed. So whole food's really important, because we have to be careful with a lot of the stuff that is processed, because unless you're reading labels, you don't really know what's in the product. And again, there's a lot of things that we can be doing to keep ourselves unhealthy. And if we're not being educated about these things and paying attention to these concepts, then we could be sometimes doing more damage than we think, and kind of going against what our goal is that we're trying to achieve. So I would recommend eating fruits, vegetables, meats, things like that, that you know were here 10,000 years ago, that you can say, hey, did my ancestors probably eat that? And if the answer is yes, then I would say it's safe to eat, as long as you're able to properly digest it and you actually feel good on it. So that's a whole other topic, and we'll get to that in part 2. But the thing I wanted to end on, you are what you eat. And this is a really, really powerful statement if you just think about that. You are what you eat. So when we're talking about you're eating high quality products, you're going to be high quality. If you're eating low quality products, then you're going to be low quality, and your energy is going to reflect that. And your recovery from exercise is going to reflect that. And your ability to build muscle is going to reflect that. And the list goes on and on. So again, I hope this encouraged you and educated you a little bit about quality of the food, why it's important. Read some labels, look for organic. If you can't find organic, use some local resources. Look up if there's any farms near you. Do you have any farmers markets that come near you? What grocery stores sell organic? And a lot of times the people at the grocery stores, especially if it's a local grocery store, they're very educated about this stuff, because it's part of what they do, and they will know where the food comes from. And if they don't know, hopefully they can point you in the right direction as to where the food does come from, because you're not the only person asking these kinds of questions. And don't be afraid to ask these kinds of questions. Even when I go to a restaurant, especially if we're going to a steakhouse or something like that, I've asked many times at a steakhouse, where's the beef coming from? Where do you guys get it? And sometimes the waitress will have to go back and they'll have to ask the chef or whoever, but I do get an answer, because someone in that restaurant knows. And I'm not saying you have to make it a big production or track the person down, but it doesn't hurt to ask a question. And so just keep that in mind. Stay tuned for part 2, which we're going to go over quantity and a couple other concepts under quantity. Question of the day for you. I want to know what you guys love to eat. If you could have anything to eat right now, since we're talking about nutrition, if you could have anything to eat right now, whether it's a juicy burger from wherever or a steak from wherever, what is the one thing that you would want to have right now with this whole nutrition talk? And it doesn't have to be organic or anything like that. I'm just curious. Please subscribe. I really enjoy all of the comments and the questions that I'm getting. I'd really, really love more though. I can handle tons more. If there's anything that you want to see featured in the videos, have me talk about, please let me know. And I will see you next episode, because together we're getting healthier every day.